What's up everyone, how are you all? Today we are back with another blazing Naruto story. What if Naruto Panther Bloodline? If you enjoy then please like, share and do comments. Long ago there was a boy. He was as beautiful as the sun and never seemed to stop shining. Sure, the clouds would hover over and block the shine, but like every storm it would pass. After his friend's betrayal and the pain it caused him, the sun angel needed to leave. Too many people looked at him with hate. Too many supposed friends didn't see the strengths that he had. They almost broke the sun. Yet, the sun can never stay hidden. It will always find a way to come back. It has been 6 years since the sun angel was last seen. He asked the Hokage of Konohagakure if could leave. The Hokage at first was reluctant to let her adopted son leave his home, but she saw in his eyes the tiredness. He was at his breaking point. He left into the world, with no one but his mother and adopted father, a perverted man, saying goodbye to him. 6 years later, two men are walking towards the giant doors that lead into Konohagakure. The Leaf Village is famous for being one of the strongest hidden villages in Japan. "So, Panther, are you ready to go home?" asked the taller of the two men. He had dark wine-red hair, golden eyes, tan skin, and a strongly built frame. He wore a white long-sleeved shirt with a red kitsune on the front. His pants were black and tapped from his right knee up to his thigh. The kunai pouch was located on his right thigh. The man wore gauntlets and had a set of daggers on a belt around his hips. Was the answer given to the question asked. Panther was different from the taller male. He had blue eyes, smooth creamy skin, a bandana covering his hair, and a frame of a well-toned athlete. His shirt was a dark blue with a shadow of a large cat on it, dark pants with tap on both legs, and no shuriken or kunai pouch. His hands were covered with black fingerless fighting gloves and an odd-looking sword was strapped to his back. "You really need to work on your people skills. You're almost like that Uchiha brat." Panther still didn't give an indication that he was listening to the other male. The two arrived at the gates of Konoha and waited to be noticed by the two Chunin guards. What a joke when the two males saw who was guarding the gates. Well, looking at who is guarding the gate kit. Che, why am I not surprised? At the gate was the one who betrayed the village many years ago and another who tried to crush the spirit of the shorter male. Uchiha Sasuke and Haruno Sakura were standing and waiting for the men. "Who are you and what is your business with Konoha?" asked the ever-arrogant Uchiha. He had not really changed. Sasuke still had dark eyes, blue-black hair, and porcelain skin. The only differences were the change in height and clothes. "We are shinobi from Hidden Mist and we wish to speak to your Hokage. I believe she is expecting us. We are Fox and Panther." "Hi, follow us please," said Sakura. The young woman had grown her pink hair longer again and like Sasuke hadn't changed much. Fox and Panther took off after them silently. It was like they were ghosts. Both Sasuke and Sakura were disturbed by the lack of sound and presence the two gave off. "Kid, are you ready to face the past?" "No, but it would have happened sooner or later. I'm only here to see Mom and Dad." "Do you think they finally got together?" "Not if your dad keeps his perverted ways. Your mother would crush him first." A small smirk appeared on the shorter male's face. It was true. Jiraiya was a pervert to end all perverts. Tsunade didn't tolerate those ways too much. The younger male took a deep breath and listened to the sounds of nature around him. Nature was letting him know everything that was and has gone on in the village since he left so long ago. The taint of hate is still here, Q-kun. Hi, it will never go away. That is one of the many faces ninjas seem to never be rid of. At the tower the two males were being inspected by everyone that they passed. Shinobi and villager alike took in the looks that they had. One in particular was staring hard at the shorter male. He seemed familiar, but at the same time not. "Wait here while I inform the Hokage of your arrival," said Sasuke. Surprised yelling could be heard within the office. Sasuke came running out and ducked when a paperweight was thrown at his head. "You can go in." He felt almost sorry for them. The Hokage was brooding again. It was the same time as each year. The time when Naruto left the village. None of the Rookie 9, or guys team knew what happened to the blonde boy. Iruka was devastated to find the empty apartment and a few were found in the forest destroying it out of anger over the blonde's quiet leaving of their lives. "Thank you." Fox and Panther entered the room. People outside of the office waited with bated breath. It was eerily quiet inside. There was no crashing or yelling. Did the Hokage kill them already? Inside the office 3 people were having a stare-off. Tsunade couldn't believe her eyes. Her son was home and alive. The once loud and clumsy blonde was now a beautiful and quiet man. She got up from her desk and embraced the one person she missed above all others. "You're home," she whispered. She stood back and looked at him closely. The pain-filled eyes were replaced with a calmness that could rival a monk, and the whisker marks seemed to have disappeared. "I miss you, Kasen," said the shorter male. Naruto was home in his village. The most feared shinobi panther, once known as Naruto, was home. "Hello, Tsunade Heim," said the other male. She knew who he was. In some secret scrolls left by both the Yondaime and Sandaime, Tsunade learned that Kyuubi would be released sometime around Naruto's 18th birthday. "Kyuubi-sama, I see you were released from the curse that made you attack our village. It was thanks to my kid here. He is just like his father, a master of seals." Tsunade was overjoyed to have both here. Then she saw the scroll they brought from Hidden Mist. Inside, the Mizukage lets Tsunade know that she can have her son back and hope that she is proud on how strong he has become. He also gave her a list of both Kyuubi's and Naruto's missions and leaves a small side to ask about their many new techniques. "Are you ready to be a Konoha shinobi once again?" she asked the 2 figures. A silent communication went on between Kyuubi and Naruto. After a moment, Naruto turned to his mother and uttered the words she was wanted to hear. "Hi, Hokage-sama." He and Kyuubi bowed to their leader and waited to have their leaf hitate be given to them. "You know that your old teammates and the rest of the rookies are going to find out who you are." Tsunade knew the reason behind Naruto's leaving. She saw with her own eyes the pain so many of his friends put him through. Sure, Iruka loved the Gaki like a brother, but he truly could not understand the boy's pain. Kakashi just ignored him and favored the Uchiha heir and Sakura. The blonde male deserved to have some peace. She could see it in his eyes. He was whole again. "Ah, maybe so, but they should learn that I am no longer their physical, nor am I their emotional punching bag anymore." Naruto's eyes hardened to show that he meant it, and those who crossed his path will pay the price. "My kid no longer tolerates those who look down upon others. He is strong and the rest will learn soon enough," said Kyuubi with a predatory smirk. He helped raise the younger male and knew the true power behind those blue eyes. Naruto was no longer the dobi. He surpassed even the legendary demon himself because of his code. "Tsunade Heim, may we go and have some fun?" asked Kyuubi. Smiling, the Hokage could only nodded her head and watch her 2 favorite people. "Well, one is a demon, go out and shine above the village. My son has truly grown," she thought. Outside, the 2 males went to look for some food. Naruto had gotten over eating ramen day in and out. Truth be told, he never truly liked it, but it was cheap and easy for a young boy to make besides cereal. "Panther, what do you want to eat?" Before he could reply, the shorter male felt an unwelcome presence. It was one of the many who betrayed him and almost shattered his very soul. Behind them stood Hitaki Kakashi, the copycat nin. "Yo, you're new here, but I see you have the leaf symbol." "Ah, we were transferred from Hidden Mist to here by the Mizukage. Your Hokage was delighted to take us." Kyuubi knew that Naruto was closing up all locks on his emotions in order to face his old sensei. "I'm Hitaki Kakashi." His one visible eye closed up in his version of a smile. "Yes, I've heard of you. I'm Fox and this is Panther." Kyuubi smirked when he saw Kakashi give a wide-eyed look at the names. "The Fox and Panther? Famous for being known as the Ghost Shinobi? That would be us." Kakashi didn't know what to think. The 2 deadliest nins were in Konoha and allies at that. He looked at Panther closer and felt as though they had met before. Maybe the kid had been in the Chunin exam long ago. "Well, I did hear you say that you are hungry. If you want, I can take you to a non-expansive restaurant that still tastes good." "Domo, Kakashi-san." The trio went to one of the places Naruto knew very well in his youth. Ichiraku ramen stand was still going. As they walked inside, they were greeted by the sight of the Rookie 9 and Guys team with all of the old senseis. "Hey, you're late," yelled Sakura. Before she could yell some more, she noticed the 2 other males. Sakura couldn't help but blush. They were both very good looking. "He was showing us a place to eat," said Fox. "I'm sorry, where are my manners?" "Hello, I'm Haruno Sakura. Nice to meet you. I'm Fox and this is Panther." Once again, many eyes grew wide at the names. Wow, the famous ghost shinobi? A boy with a feral appearance asked. It was Kiba, and he seemed to have grown wilder looking. His companion, Akamaru, was no longer a puppy, but a fully grown dog, big enough to ride on. Kyuubi didn't get a chance to answer before Akamaru jumped onto Naruto. The others were surprised, but it seemed as though the dog knew this person. Akamaru, I know you can hear me. Don't let them know who I am. It is a secret for now. Naruto let the dog know not to tell anyone. What the hell? Akamaru, what's wrong? The white dog barked and whined a bit in answer. Kiba just nodded his head and laughed. He said that Panther smelled really nice and he already likes him. The rest of the group smiled and knew that the two weren't a threat if Akamaru liked them. To answer the earlier question, yes, we are the ghost shinobi. A what shinobi? Asked the blonde girl Ino. A smoky voice answer this time, we are like ghost. You don't see us or hear us. We strike swiftly and surely. Like a ghost, we can cause your worst fears to come to life. Everyone looked at Panther. He was eerie in his telling of their skills. The Uchiha and Kakashi both felt as though they knew him. From where though? I swear I know that slight bit of chakra he gives off. Thought Sasuke. He hated not knowing something. Wow, that is some skills, said Kiba. The group decided they could talk more while eating. No one really paid too much attention on how little Panther ate, nor did they notice the assessing eye of Fox. The people were happily telling stories about different missions and the events of their lives. Sakura finally asked one of the many dreaded questions. Have you two ever met a blonde boy named Naruto? The Konoha nins stiffened at the name. It was almost a taboo to say anymore. Last time someone mentioned the blonde's name, Sasuke had nearly burnt down parts of Konoha's forest in his rage. Hi, a few years ago, he stopped by on his way to the continent. He was telling us about gaining a new perspective on life. Really great kid and smart too. Fox was grinning, but on the inside he was laughing his head off. Huh? Naruto smart? Are you sure you have the right person? Asked Sakura and Kiba at the same time. He was blonde, bluest eyes ever, with a spiral on his back? Sakura nodded her head at the questions. Then we have the right person. He learned every jutsu that the Mizukage knew and changed them to suit his purposes. Not only that, but he was able to outsmart most of the Anbu of our village. Did you ever hear from him? Asked the quietest person in the group, Hinata. She missed him a lot and pretty much knew why he left. She may not have a crush on him anymore, but he was a precious person and many of these people nearly shattered him before her eyes. Naruto was last seen in China training with a sensei. Fox made a thoughtful look and then turned amused eyes towards the Konoha nins. I was told he was getting ready to travel once more. The sensei there said he was a powerful person, not only physically and chakra-wise, but mentally too. Everyone could only sigh. The search for the blonde was in vain. He wasn't even in Japan anymore. Sasuke left after he heard the news. His face was darkened with anger and many scuttled away from the Uchiha. That Dobi. He's too far away for me to find now. Sorry, Sasuke gets like that every time he hears about Naruto, said Sakura with a bow. Ah, he isn't the only one. Kazekage-sama was the same way also a few months back, as was a boy named Inari. Naruto must be really important to them. Hi, he was the pillar for many people, said a new voice. A man in his 30s walked inside the restaurant. Amino Uruka has not changed one bit. He still had his hair in a ponytail and his scar across the bridge of his nose, as always, stood out. You knew him well? Asked Fox. Not as well as I thought I did. He was like a brother to me and his leaving without a goodbye was hard. Uruka gave small smile. Many haven't seen him truly smile in a long time. Did he know how important he was to everyone before he left? Asked Panther. His voice still surprised everyone, even after the first time they heard it. What do you mean? Asked Sakura angrily. Of course he knew how important he was to us. Haruno-san, how could he? You used him as a punching bag. Sasuke-san would call him names. Kakashi-san ignored him, and others abused him or tried to kill him. Hinata finally told the pink-haired person the truth that had been building for years. Shino and Neji nodded their heads. They too noticed the abuse but never tried to help the blonde. How could Naruto know how important he was, when no one really showed it all? Panther, do you think this village is still tainted with hate? Asked Fox. Panther raised his head from looking at the counter. Bluest eyes to ever grace anyone's face looked at a surprised group of people. "Hi, what do you mean the village is tainted?" asked Iruka. The village seemed to be fine in his eyes, but he wasn't looking at from the view of one of the suppressed. Panther is very close with nature, and he was told that this village, no matter how happy it seems, has a smell of hate in it. Kyubi explained that nature is forever watching and knows the deeper workings of man, than man itself. Sakura was still shocked to see such blue eyes. Only one person ever had eyes that blue, but something was off. They were as blue as the sky, yet these eyes didn't show something in them. What was it? Then it hit her. The eyes were lacking any type of warmth and happiness so accustomed to Naruto. These eyes were as barren as the wastelands far in the north. Looking at them caused her to shiver. No, this man could not be Naruto. Maybe he was related to the missing blonde. Panther-san, are you related to Naruto? I noticed that your eyes are similar in color. Naruto lifted his head and looked the pink-haired woman in the eyes. No, I'm simply someone he has met. Naruto is a good kid, but needed to drop that mask of his. Mask? Asked Iruka. What mask did the shorter male mean? Iruka-sensei, over the years I've seen that mask. It covers Naruto-kun's pain and anger. He was always making sure no one knew the real him, said Hinata. She knew why Naruto hid himself. She accidentally overheard about Naruto being a demon vessel, but she didn't hate him. No, he was innocent and couldn't help what had happened to him on the day of his birth. I'm sure you're wrong. I mean, he couldn't be that good at acting. Naruto has always been a baka. Sakura didn't want to believe that the Naruto she knew those years ago was a lie. No way could the blonde have fooled a whole village. Panther snarled at that and walked out of the restaurant. Naruto hated people like her. They never knew when to stop. Why was he here again? Sorry about that. He grew close to Naruto and is very protective of him, said Fox. On the inside, Kyubi was plotting the death of the pink-haired one. While making out his plans, the kitsune didn't notice the calculating looks of Neji and Shikamaru. Something was off about the newcomers. Troublesome, I know him from somewhere. Just where the genius will spend the rest of the day and night thinking about the new puzzle that Panther presented. His chakra that is present feels familiar. I will find out who he is. No one can stay hidden forever. After everyone else left to go home or to report to the Hokage, Kyubi went after Naruto, but a messenger from Tsunade had him summoned to the tower. Out in the forest, Naruto was meditating on the grounds, trying to control his anger. No matter how much good he has done, it seemed as though he was always in the wrong. Hate is such an ugly word, yet it lives in all of us. I hate people who hate, and there are people who hate me for a life I have no control over. He sighed before smoothly standing up. Night was coming and it was time to train. As one of the ghost shinobi, the blonde learned many things from the night. How to be silent, how to not be seen, and how to move like a ghost. Unlike the Nara clan, he and Kyubi could control even the shadows that are covered by the darkness. No light was ever needed. The blonde's body seemed to have melted into the shadows. No trace of him could be sensed, not even by Akamaru. It was as though he never existed. All of a sudden a tree had exploded from the inside out with what looked like lightning. Good as ever, Kit. Kyubi had finished his meeting with the Hokage and had searched for his best friend and special person. What's up? She wants us to be tested. The council knows that you're back and they aren't too happy. The council was one of the many reasons for Naruto's departure. They were blaming the blonde for Sasuke's betrayal of the village. It was always his fault. The anger that was building from the memory was pushed down by his will alone. Anger solves nothing. Remember, you have a family out there and they will be here soon. Fine, then let's give them a show, Naruto said with a small smirk. So the council wanted to test him? They had no idea how strong he had become. Kyubi could only laugh out loud. This was the blonde he knew. His precious person may hide in the clouds sometimes, but the sun will always win in the end. For the rest of the night the two trained with one another. If anyone watched, they would be amazed because they would not able to keep up with them. The next day the Hokage called in the original Rookie 9, Guy's old team, all the senseis, and a few others that knew Naruto long ago. In the forest, where the event will be held, they gathered. Some were not informed yet of the impending test, while others were eager to see Panther and Fox in action. The council was also there, but in a secure spot with a good view of the battlegrounds. I have you here to test the newest additions to our forces. Fox and Panther are requested by the council to show their abilities. Tsunade was not happy. Most of the council actually learned to like the Gaki before he left, but still there were others that tried everything in their power to make his life miserable. "Why so many of us?" asked Sakura. "It didn't seem to be a fair fight. They are the best and we needed the best to test them," replied Tsunade. She too was going to join in the test. She had not gone against Naruto since he brought her back the village after their first meeting. "May I also join in this test?" asked another person. Looking to her left, Tsunade smiled to see Jiraiya. "He still hasn't changed one bit." Tsunade nodded her head. She knew he wanted to see how strong their son has became. The power didn't ooze off his skin like it did with Kakashi and Sasuke. No, Naruto's powers were much different. They were hidden from them all and that type of power was much more dangerous. "Where are Panther and Fox?" asked a council member. They were eager to see the vessel lose. Unsure what to say, Tsunade could only look around and hope that the two showed up soon or the council will try another tactic on them. Before another second went by, two shadows seemed to have swirled out of the trees. They converged into the middle of the group and formed the bodies of the two late shinobis. "Ah, sorry I was hungry," said Fox with a big toothy grin. "Then let's begin," said Tsunade. Sasuke and Kakashi began with the famous Kaiden Jutsu. The fire dragon headed towards the two unmoving figures. Tsunade held her breath when she saw the flames hit, but then had a confused look. "Where were they? Really, do you think that could have stopped us?" asked a voice with laughter. The mocking laughter bounced off the trees, causing the testers to go on high alert. No one could sense them. It was like they were there. Suddenly Hinata and Sakura screamed, turning around, and everyone found them stuck halfway into the tree's barks. It was like the jutsu Kakashi once used on Sasuke, but instead of into the ground they went into the trees. Another sound had the group turning again. The shadow user Shikamaru and his best friend Choji were knocked out and hanging upside down. "When did they have time to set up traps?" asked Ino. "They couldn't have," said Kurenai-sensei. A signal was given for everyone to spread out. Maybe then they could make a move against the two that were hidden from them. It would have worked, but it also caused people to lose sight of one another. A prison of earth and stone soon surrounded Asuma, Ino, and Kurenai. Kakashi thought that maybe the two were unground and jumped into a nearby tree. He unveiled his Sharingan, along with Sasuke. Neji decided to use his Byakugan and search for the chakra signals. All three bloodline limits could not pick up a trace of Fox and Panther. That was impossible. Lee and Guy-sensei were nearby when a swirl of wind threw them back and the trees seemed to have sucked them into the barks like Hinata and Sakura. "Guy-sensei, their youth is great for them to beat us so easily," exclaimed Lee. "Hi, their springtime of youth is indeed great." Everyone ignored the two in favor of protecting themselves. Kiba and Akamaru were in their beast forms and ready to attack, but sadly it was too late. By the time they sensed any movements, the two were knocked out by an exploding tag. "Kakashi-sensei, I can't find them anywhere," said Sasuke. The Uchiha was not happy. These two were powerful, maybe even more so than Itachi. Jealousy was boiling in his blood. How is it that there is always someone he can't beat? "No, I will become stronger and I will beat Itachi. Then Naruto, I'm coming to bring you home this time." Kakashi couldn't reply since he was now trapped in a maze of nin wires. One move could trigger a trap and for some reason he could not use his chakra to get out. "Those two could also mess with your chakra? Interesting, how strong are they?" Sasuke was not sure what to do. How do you beat an unseen enemy? Normally you force them out into the open. Yet, these two were different. They were everywhere and nowhere. I'll beat them." He jumped up into a tree and surveyed the area to find the best countermeasure in fighting the ghost shinobi. "Oh, really? Can you stop the wind then?" asked a mocking voice. Sasuke was soon caught in a wind, but unlike the one that hit Guy-sensei and Lee, he was trapped in the eye of storm. The storm reminded him of Naruto's Rasengan. It could cut you to pieces if you touched it. All who were left were Tsunade and Jiraiya. The two Sannin smiled because their son was indeed very powerful. "Come out you two and fight us head-on," called Tsunade with an amused glint in her. For those that were still awake and could see the field were surprised to see the two figures merging right in front of the two Sannin. The reason for the shock was they didn't use shadows. Oh no, instead it was like watching angels descend from the sky. Light had filtered in and they had appeared. Tsunade Heim, I'm sure you and Jiraiya-sama would like to test him on his own. I'll wait and guard our prisoners, said Fox with a grin. He knew both mother and father wanted to see the strength of their son. Let's dance, Ka-san, Oto-san. The whispered challenge was only heard by 4 people. It was a way for the blonde male to show that he has grown and wanting to make his parents proud of him. Tsunade stomped the ground with a chakra-filled kick causing a small quake. Panther merely jumped up into the air and landed without a sound. He moved with the same grace as the animal he was named after. Each of his movements was deliberate and smooth. He danced around his Ka-san and not once was touched. Tsunade was proud to see how much her son grew. He was truly fit to be the Rokudame. Panther once again avoided a chakra-filled punch and smoothly went in for the stopping blow. He pushed on the point in her neck and put Tsunade out cold. While to some it looked easy, it wasn't at all. He needed to wear her down in order to get under her guard. Tsunade wasn't sonning for nothing. Jiraiya gave his son a toothy smile. It was rare for anyone to be able to beat Tsunade. Well, let's see what else you have learned on your journey. Jiraiya powered up a Rasengan in his hand and ran full speed towards the younger male. Naruto stood and assessed how much power he needed to use. Kid, just hold back at least 2/3 of your power. Wouldn't want to hurt him. Naruto closed his eyes for a sec and reopened. It was time to show the council one of his stronger techniques. The light that did filter in from the canopy of trees began to dance. The light swirled around the younger male and caused people to blink. The intensity of the light grew so strong that it blinded many for a bit. Opening up their eyes again, they found an astonishing sight. Jiraiya, the toad Sanin, was captured within the light. If he touched it he might be burned. Oi! What is this thing? Asked the older male. That is Panther's heaven's charge. It uses the light of the sun or moon and creates a prison that comes from the heavens itself. No one can escape it. Jiraiya was impressed. This jutsu was powerful and both good in offense and defense. It kept the enemy from getting towards you and it had an attack within itself. Sasuke was surprised because he couldn't copy that technique. It was like the Rasengan. The Sharingan was useless, it seemed, against an opponent like Fox and Panther. The group was awakened or released at the end of the test. The council had no choice, but let Naruto and Kyuubi rejoin Konoha as one of their shinobi. An account of the test was given to those who missed it because of being unconscious or trapped too far away to see it. Where did you learn those from? Asked Kiba. To be able to be the elite of Konoha meant those two had to go through some intense training. That is a secret, Kiba-san, said Fox. Kyuubi was happy for Naruto. He trained the hardest out of the two, so it was fitting that his secrets stayed secrets. Neji and Shikamaru noticed that not once did the Panther ever use his sword. In fact, he only used one kunai during the whole test. The rest was either ninjutsu or taijutsu. He and Fox did set up traps, but that was it. How come you didn't use your sword? Asked Neji. I only use it in the most extreme of cases, said the quiet Panther. He wanted to get away from the group and meditate in the forest. What do you consider extreme? Asked Sakura. The pink-haired girl was still sure she knew him. He couldn't be Naruto Baka, since there are no whisker marks and the other male was quiet. She never could imagine a quiet Naruto. Extreme would be like facing off with a shinobi army the size of Konoha, answered Fox for his partner. This answering for Panther hadn't gone unnoticed by a few. They hoped that they didn't have another Uchiha on their hands. One was bad enough. Fox though did say that Panther wasn't one to talk much. Plus he didn't give off the air of arrogance like Sasuke or even Neji. They will be here tonight, kid. Make sure to tell Tsunade about our friends coming. I already have. She is extremely happy. I feel like a girl bring home her boyfriend for her parents to inspect. Though he didn't seem it, Naruto was happy. The rest of his family will finally be here with him. The once shunned and tormented boy was in peace now. His family was almost with him. Each were precious to him, but none more so than Kyuubi. They were near. The people who were drawn to the sun have arrived to the village of Konoha. Each person was different, but had one great common bond. They all loved and were willing to die for the blonde male. He was their light in the darkness and now they will be his light. Two people were probably the most familiar out of the group to those that lived in the village. The cage with his infamous gourd was near the front. His red hair was dark under the moonlight. No longer tired all the time, Thanks to the death of his inner demon and from the help of Naruto, Gaara of the Sand was for once in his life at peace. The blonde was like a brother to him and he wanted his brother to be happy. The second person was the most surprising, Uchiha Itachi. The missing nin of Konoha had once again returned home. Why? For he was never a killer but an avenger like his brother. The former Akatsuki member had followed the blonde back to his home in order to protect him from the hatred that would come. He loved Naruto and wished that he still had some of his innocence left, but the bastards in the village made sure to destroy it slowly over time. There were 3 other people in the group. One man was unusual in looks. He was tall and muscular like Asuma-sensei, but he had dark green eyes and dark blonde hair. His coloring was also tan, but tan like he was always out in the sun. His name was Hawk and he was a berserker from Scotland. A berserker was a person who went into battle mode and did not stop until all enemies were destroyed. He too carried a sword like Naruto and he had traveled far to see the blonde. The next was a woman with blue-black hair and dark honey-colored eyes. She was not tall or curvy, but one could tell she was strong by the muscles seen in her arms. She was called Faye and her home was in the mountains of Italy. Her specialty was the ability to adjust to any battle situation and scan for an opponent's weakness. She preferred to not use any weapons, but if she had to, her choice was the bow and arrow. The only person she has yet to defeat was Naruto. Lastly, there was a young man that was from the land of China. He had dark brown hair and golden eyes. Going by the name of Ares, like the constellation, he was a sword master with abilities above those of a samurai in Japan. He moved like the wind and was one of the best sparring opponents in the group. Like Faye, he too couldn't beat Naruto in a sword fight. In a game of chess he barely wins. "Hello, Mio Piccolo," said Faye with a small smile. "I'm taller than you, yet you still call me little one." Naruto could only let some warmth shine into his eyes. How he missed these people. This was his family, and though it was small it was a good family. "It's 'cause I'm older than you still." Faye stuck her tongue out at the blonde. "Hi, I know. Now are you guys ready to face down my cousin?" Everyone nodded. Gaara already knew Tsunade, so he wasn't worried about being yelled at. No, he was only worried about being interrogated when she found out he knew where the blonde was all these years. Before the group left, a spell was placed on Itachi. In China and Scotland, Naruto learned magic and decided it was the best course to use to guard against any bloodline limit within the village. In Itachi's place was a young man with dark hair, brown eyes, and nothing that made him stand out in a crowd. The small group traveled into the village and towards the tower. Tsunade was waiting inside with Jiraiya, ready to meet her son's other family members. She knew that they were good people if Naruto could let them in beyond the mask he normally displayed to the rest of the world. So few had gained his trust and many had never gained at all because of their actions. The knock at the door announced that they all had arrived. It was time. "Hello, Kasen, Oto-san, I would like you to meet some special people." The rest of the group walked in. Somehow she was not surprised to see Gaara. She knew he was always close to the blonde. "Ah, it is nice to meet you. Sit and let me know about yourselves. First, there is one person you should know about before you get angry," said Naruto. He released the spell on Itachi. "What is he doing here?" yelled both Tsunade and Jiraiya. "Itachi is not what he seems. He didn't kill his family like everyone was led to believe. It was another Uchiha using henge. Itachi left to go track him down. So, he went missing to stop another Uchiha? That means I'll have to reinstate you, if you are going to stay." "I'm staying. Naru-kun needs us all here. Plus, knowing the council, they will want the oldest Uchiha back." Tsunade and Jiraiya nodded their heads at the fact. The council would take back the Uchiha and the village will greet him with smiles. Just like when Sasuke left and turned traitor towards the leaf, he was handed smiles and welcome backs from everyone, except Naruto. Now, the lovely lady is Faye. She is from the country of Italy far to the west. The big guy is Hawk. He is from the beautiful lands of Scotland. Lastly, the quiet one is Ares. He calls China home. Each person smiled at the two that the blonde male called family. They each could see how strong and good in heart the people were. Like Tsunade thought before, they had to be good people for Naruto to trust them. "Naruto, I don't want to ruin the good mood, but there is a problem. The council wants to announce your return." Hyuga-sama, Nara-san, and a couple of others tried to stop them, but they were outvoted by the rest. They are only doing this to torture me. Still, it will be amusing to see everyone's reaction. How far did the Dobi really come? The rest at first stared at Naruto, but soon laughed because that was how he was. He took everything in stride and somehow always made it out on top. So, the council wants to hurt him, then they will see how it backfires. Before the group could come up with a subtle way to announce his return, a knock was heard at the door. They quickly redid Itachi's spell and waited for the person to enter. While others were shocked to see Hinata come in, Naruto was not. He knew she was here to see him. "Sorry, Hokage-sama, I wanted to talk to him." "Who?" asked Tsunade. "Naruto-kun, of course. I knew it was him the minute I saw the eyes. Unlike Sakura, I would recognize them anywhere." "Hinata-chan, I knew you were smarter than all of them put together." Hinata looked at the man who was once a boy with big dreams. In that boy's place she saw confidence but not arrogance, power but no greed for more, and a soul that has seen and done much but was still willing to care on all burdens. This was someone she trusted to lead her into battle and stop all enemies ahead. The young woman walked up to the blonde and hugged him like the long-lost brother he was. He was home and she was happy. "Welcome home, Naruto-kun." "Thank you, Hinata-chan." The family of the blonde smiled. It seemed that one more person was added to the group. They had another sister to help watch over their brother. "Kit, let's commemorate your return by using one of your older and most famous prank." "Ah, yes, I know which one." The sparkle of mischief in both Kyuubi's and Naruto's eyes had everyone wary. They knew it had to be a prank. It was rare for them to cause one, but when they did it was always something big. That night Kyuubi and Naruto planned their prank. It was their way of saying that he was back. Their jaws will drop and shock will be shared all around. It was perfect. On the day of the announcement, many shinobi were gathered outside the tower. None knew what soon the sun will shine upon them again. But will the sun with hope or give off a glare of disgust? "People of Konoha, I'm pleased to announce that one of our own has returned. He and his family will be staying and helping us." Before Tsunade finished, there was a loud poof near the Hokage mountain. Everyone turned their attention towards the mountain and was shocked to see all 5 faces covered in paint. Wait, paint? Only one person ever had the nerve to decorate the mountain. No way. He was back. As I was saying, Uzumaki Naruto and his family have returned to Konoha. Tsunade didn't know whether to laugh or get mad. In the end she couldn't hold it in anymore and laughed her head off. The village had been very boring without the blonde male, and now it will be exciting once more. I think we overdid it, Fox," said Panther. "Maybe." Kyuubi was trying not to fall on his butt because of how much he was laughing. The rest of their group could only sigh. It was good and daring. Only those two would do something like that. "You two go and talk to the rest. I'm sure there will be more explosions today if you don't." Tsunade walked back into her office after the order. Outside the tower, the former Rookie 9, all the senseis, Guy's team, and others who knew the blonde waited for his arrival. When Fox and Panther exited, they were disappointed, until Shino looked into Blue Eyes. Though he was the quietest person in the group, he was the most observant. "Welcome home, Naruto," he said quietly to the shorter male. "Huh," said several people. Looking at Panther again, they only saw the blue eyes. That couldn't be Naruto. He had no whisker marks and was very calm, compared to the loud and obnoxious boy they knew in the past. "I wondered what took you so long, Shino." Naruto pulled his bandana off his head. For the first time they saw his hair. The spiky locks of blonde were now longer and less wild. They were heavily streaked with a wine-red color. "Sorry, my bugs said you tasted familiar, but they couldn't remember from where though." Before Naruto could reply, he was hit across the face by Sasuke. The hit didn't faze him and he looked back to see the heavily breathing Uchiha. "Where the hell have you been? Dobi, do you know how worried everyone has been?" "Really? Only one person from this village figured out who I was the minute I returned. Isn't it strange that only that person could see me and not the mask? You're angry because I did not act like an idiot leaving and coming to this place." Sasuke's Sharingan had started to come out during the conversation. He was pissed beyond anything. "He acts like we aren't important to him anymore. I'm not important to him anymore." "Naruto," shouted several voices. They had finally gotten over the shock and each were trying to talk to him. Most were angry and a few understood why he needed to leave the village. "Enough," shouted Kyuubi. He saw that his kid was becoming agitated by the different people surrounding him. "Naruto, will answer some questions, but not all. His training is a secret, as is some of his jutsus. Thanks, Mio Bello. Naruto smiled a small smile towards Kyuubi. He didn't like being around many people anymore. Mio Piccolo, you have many unusual people here in your village, said Faye. She and the rest had just left the tower and saw the confrontation. I do not know why they are acting this way, but I think they might not be all there. Hawk's eyes were laughing from all the commotion the shinobi were making. He knew what had happened to the younger blonde and felt that none of these people were fit to be around his brother. It is because they are angry for being fooled again by Naruto-kun, said Hinata. She had joined the small group inside when the announcement was made. Everyone looked at the group behind the blonde. Each person was different in looks and origin. They stood out from the people of the village. Sasuke was not happy to see how close Naruto was with people who were complete strangers to him and the rest of Konoha. Naruto-kun, let's show your family around the village. I'm sure they would like to see your old home, suggested Hinata. Naruto looked at his old group and then towards his new family. These people were true to him. They knew what he was and who he was. They would not turn their backs on him and leave him in the dark. Hi, I have much to show you. Kasen has given us my birthright, so we can move in there later on. The family was getting ready to leave when Sasuke, who was still angry, went to tackle the blonde. Naruto, sensing the attack, twirled on the balls of his feet and tapped the body of Sasuke as he flew past the blonde. The tap caused the Uchiha to lose his control and fling his body towards the ground hard. The impact knocked the air out of the brunette and left him in a daze. I'll tell you this only once, Sasuke. Leave me be. I'm no longer your friend. Naruto and his group left. Shino decided to join them since the younger blonde male did not seem angry towards him. In truth, Shino was one of the few Naruto actually got along with in Konoha. Many did not know it though because the friendship was stopped by some many events in their short lives. Now the friendship could be renewed and maybe, like with Hinata, a new person could be added into the family. After Naruto and his family left the Hokage Tower, the rest of the shinobi still could not comprehend what had happened. The once loud and cheerful blonde was now the opposite of everything he was. Are they sure that was Naruto and not an imposter? Asked Sakura. I'm not sure. My Byakugan only sees his chakra and it is different, but at the same time familiar. It is like his old pathways, but the one that he used to use is gone. How is that possible? Asked Sakura. No one in the group could answer the question. Shikamaru stood off to the side thinking over everything that they thought they knew about Naruto and the Naruto that had returned to Konoha. The two personalities seemed to clash with one another. Next was also the odd group he was seen with. Sure, they knew Shino, Hinata, and Gaara, but they had no clue who the other four were. Shikamaru felt he needed to lie down and think this over more. While the lazy genius stood away from the group thinking, Kakashi went to check up on Sasuke. The Uchiha looked to be stuck in a trance. The words must have hit hard to the brunette. He had been so angry when Naruto left, but he had always assumed it was because no one, not even he, could bring Naruto back. The blonde had brought Sasuke back, but none of them could return the favor. Sasuke, are you okay? Asked Kakashi. He knew it was a stupid question to ask, but it was needed to be said. Kakashi was also hurt by the coldness Naruto had displayed to all of them and was confused by the power that he and his partner, Fox, had shown to them during the test. Sasuke was ready to go after the blonde again. He would keep following Naruto, like when Naruto kept following him. This was his silent vow to the world. Iruka was just beyond shock. The one he loved like a brother turned his back on him. Why? Was it as Hinata said, and he truly didn't see the mask the blonde had worn all those times? The academy sensei was determined to find out. As each person walked off, either together or alone, all of them wondered what happened in those 6 years. Not only was the blonde stronger than them combined, but his personality was completely different. Naruto. As the blonde and his friends showed his family around the village, whispers were heard. The cold stares were given and the old taunts started again. The only difference this time around was the return of the cold stares. The villagers were not shinobi, but the aura of power that surrounded the group did not go unnoticed. This place has some bad kai. These people are still full of hate towards you, Naruto, said Ares. I don't like it one bit. Hawk was giving the icy glare of the berserker, causing some of the people to shrink under the gaze. Q-kun, I can feel your anger. Don't let them bother you. I know that you are strong, but I hate to see those eyes land upon you. You are an angel in disguise and these fools don't see it. They don't see the goodness of your soul. They don't understand who or what I am, so they will hate and fear me. That is the way of people who have not really seen the outside world. All they could do is follow what they know based on others' opinions. They are weak then, said Gaara. The Cage had decided on also walking with the rest through Konoha, even though he had been there many times. The group were soon found themselves by Ichiraku. Since they were all hungry they went inside and were happily greeted by Ayame and the owner. They were some of the few that generally liked Naruto. Hey Naruto, I'm happy to see you again, said Ayame. The young woman had always seen him as a younger brother. The blonde male had used the small stand as a haven from the harshness of the villagers. Hello Ayame, I hope you and the rest are well. Hi, now what would you and the rest like to eat? As the group ordered and talked among themselves, anyone passing by could feel the aura of happiness that surrounded them. Shino was told about the test the council had Naruto and Fox go through. He was not there because he just left for a one-day mission. No one could tell, but on the inside he was laughing about the techniques used on the strongest shinobi in the village. I'm impressed Naruto-kun. Your skills were always amazing, but your new ones are just as great. Thanks. I hope to spar you one day as well. Shino nodded his head in agreement. To spar someone on Naruto's level would be an experience that could not be compared. The food was eaten and stories were told. The small family was happy and content to be around one another, until the presence of someone watching them was felt by Naruto and Kyuubi. Kit, I think you need to talk to him. He wasn't one of the many who had hurt you. Hi, Q-kun, distract everyone for me. While everyone was listening to a story that Kyuubi was telling them about, Naruto faded into the shadows by the bar. He reappeared a yard behind the watcher. Really Neji, I didn't think you were one to spy on people. Neji turned around and saw the object of his watching to be right behind him. It still surprised him on how well Naruto covered up his chakra. We need to talk. Neji wanted to know everything. The two walked off heading towards the woods. It gave Naruto a sense of peace being surrounded by nature and Neji felt more at ease knowing that it would be hard for someone to listen upon the conversation. Where have you been for the last 6 years? I have been to the far west and all over Japan. For the first 4 years I lived in China, Italy, and Ireland. Those are countries that are bigger and quite different from our own. In the last 2 years I lived in Wave Country. There I became a member of the Anbu. Why did you leave? To protect my sanity and preserve what was left of my soul. Tell me Neji, how many years can you truly live when the eyes of those around you only look through you, but at the same time they are looking at you? What do you mean? Neji was confused. Sure he has seen people glaring at the blonde and some even give him the cold shoulder, but he never knew why. Do you want to know my greatest secret? I'm a vessel just like Gaara was. I held the strongest of the tailed demons in my body. I was chosen at birth to carry the burden for this village. That was my lot in life. Why do you think I live alone and people hate me? Why do you think I fought so hard against everyone that wanted to hold me down? Neji was stunned. Naruto was a vessel like Gaara, but he was different than the Cage. He didn't kill for the pleasure, nor did he ever go on a rampage. He was always cheerful and kind. Determination and love were part of Naruto's vows when they were younger. Why didn't you tell any of us sooner? Why carry the burden alone? Would you trust anyone after being alone for so long? It was a burden given to me alone. None of you could be strong enough mentally or emotionally. I know you have the seal on you also, but at least you have a family. I didn't at the time. A quiet filled the forest. It was true. Neji had the love of his father before he died and he still has the love of his cousins and uncle now. Naruto had nothing until Jiraiya and Tsunade came. Sure Iruka tried, but he could never understand the burden in Naruto's soul. Many did not wish to see how fragile the blonde was. He was thrust into the light as the pillar of the Rookie 9 and Guy's team. Too many things were placed on such young shoulders. I'm sorry. I know. Neji now knew what Naruto meant. A person could only last so long with icy looks before they're driven insane. He took the best path and left. He left to become stronger mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. These people that arrived with him were the ones who helped heal the blonde over time. I want to join your family. I want to help you now, since you helped me all those years ago. It is always nice to have a real friend. I'm sure you'll like everyone else. Oh, I forgot. Fox is really Kyuubi. He isn't that bad. One day he might tell you why he attacked the village. Naruto left Neji in the forest after that last bit of news. Really, who wouldn't be shocked to know that the famous Kyuubi was also known as the Fox? I should have known. Only Naruto is surrounded by such powerful people. As Naruto went back towards the village, he had many thoughts in his head. He was happy that Neji still looked upon him as a friend and not a monster. Plus it was nice to have someone else know about his secret. The blonde knew that not everyone in the Rookie 9 could handle such truths. Such as how much stronger he had become compared to the rest. "Kit, are you ready to see your home?" Hi. He would have been happy to see his family once again in the ancestral home. He would. The Yondaime had left a beautiful home for his son. Though it was hidden, the house was huge. A garden like no other surrounded the house. It was full of trees with sakura blossoms, roses, lilies, and other flowers. It was breathtaking. "It is beautiful, Mio Piccolo. I just hope there is a training area nearby." Everyone else could only nod their head. The small group walked into the house and knew this was a good place. The atmosphere inside was homey and had a warmth to it. The high ceilings and vast rooms did not deter from those feelings. "Well, let's all pick a room to stay in. Shino-kun and Hinata-chan, you guys should pick one too. So, if you ever want to stay the night, you have a place." Shino and Hinata were happy to be welcomed into the family. They knew that they might just stay there a lot. It was greatly different from their homes. They were not stifled by rules because they were heir to their respected clans. No, here they were shinobi, brother-sister, and friend. "Yeah, there is a pool out back and a training ground not too far away," yelled Kyuubi. He was one happy kitsune. He could feel the goodness here and was happy that his kid was surrounded by it all. Naruto stood around and listened to all of the cries of joy and surprise by each new discovery. As the blonde looked upon his family, he knew that he would tell Shino and Hinata about his secrets and about Itachi. In his gut, Naruto knew he could trust these two, just like he could trust Neji. As night fell and the people ate dinner, Naruto called them all into the main sitting room. Only Kyuubi knew what he was going to do and supported his kid all the way. "Shino-kun and Hinata-chan, I'm going to tell you why I left and the main reason why everyone hates me." Shino and Hinata both held their breaths. The look in the blonde's eyes were the most serious they have ever seen. What made him so hated by the villagers and many of their fellow shinobi? About 22 years ago, you know that the Kyuubi attacked our village. What you don't know is that the great demon was not killed, but sealed. Our Yondaime chose a child born on that day and used them as a vessel. He sealed the kitsune into the child and died that same day because in sealing the demon he made a pact with the Shinigami. The two Konoha shinobi were shocked. A child was picked to be the vessel of such a powerful demon? That was horrible. The child grew up not knowing why they were hated and cried out each day for someone to love them. Eventually they grew to be a shinobi, but no matter how many times this person tried to help or do good, they were looked down upon. Soon even those they thought were their friends used the shinobi as a punching bag. They knew the minute the blonde described the child's life, whom the vessel was. How many years did each of them overlook the hated glares the blonde received? After the child left, they met many new people and learned the reason why Kyuubi attacked. A curse was placed upon the great demon, not because he was evil, rather because he was good. The child learned how to release the curse and soon the demon was released upon the child's 18th birthday. The child made a family upon their journey and now stands before stronger because of leaving. Naruto waited for the two's reaction to his story. He was slightly nervous but was ready for rejection. "Naruto-kun, you are the reason I wanted to become stronger. You have faced many hardships and grew up because of them. For that I thank you for inspiring me. I do not hate you. I pity those that do not know the real you." Shino nodded his head. He too respected the blonde throughout their younger years and hoped that he had healed on his long journey. "That is good. My kid is precious to me and to others. We hate to see him hurt. Kyuubi-san, we would never hurt him. He is precious to us too." Hinata figured out who Fox was based on the story. She knew that once the demon was freed he might not leave the one person he had been with for so many years. There is one more thing. This will shock you almost just as much. Along my journey I met up with Itachi, Sasuke's brother, and well, it has been proven that he didn't kill the Uchiha clan. "Oh dear, that might be awkward for Sasuke then if his brother shows up," said Hinata. That's another thing, he kind of is already here. Once he finished that statement, Naruto released the spell that was put upon Itachi. The two Konoha shinobi blinked at seeing the infamous missing nin of Konoha, and Itachi could only look back at them with a bland look. Hello, Hinata-san. I haven't seen you since you were small. Hi, it has been a long time. I'm happy to hear that you are an innocent man. The tension in the air grew less as everyone talked. The warmth returned and Naruto smiled on seeing his precious people together. He knew it was a small piece before the storm struck. The past couple of days have been good among the family of fighters. Each day they trained and had fun telling stories. Itachi and Gaara were like the overprotective brother. Ares, Shino, Naruto, and Kyuubi were like brothers, while Faye and Hawk were the mother hens of the group. Hinata was treated like the baby sister. Soon the fun would end. Many of the council members were trying to find different ways on getting rid of the demon child. One major problem was how popular among the shinobi of both Konoha and other villagers he had become. After a few hours they finally thought of something. They will have him go to Sound. Orochimaru was rumored to be starting a new army and on his was to attack Konoha. Kit, they are still after your head. Ah, Q-kun is right, Mio Piccolo. What will you do? I'll prove that it is time to stop punishing me for sins of their own imagination. Do you want me to come? I can help you. I can do it. I will use it. Kyuubi nodded his head when he learned what Naruto will use on his mission. Over the last years of their travels the blonde had grew beyond imagination. Not even the Lord Kyuubi himself could dream of beating the young man. The day of the mission drew near and the blonde could be found outside by Cell 7's old training grounds. He was sitting on the railing of the bridge with his eyes closed in a meditative pose. He was bringing in all of his chakra and spiritual powers. Just as he finished, the blonde felt three presences nearby. He knew these people well. Each was one of the reasons why he left. There was the copy nin Kakashi, the man who was supposed to be his sensei and mentor. Next was the medic nin Sakura, the girl he had looked upon as a precious person. Lastly was the Chunin and last of his clan, Sasuke, the other person he had held as precious. None of them knew the real Naruto. Not the Naruto that brought home the Uchiha heir, or the Naruto that could summon the Toad Boss. All they saw was the Dobi and weakest member of Cell 7. What do you three want? Naruto, we want to talk, said Kakashi. Yeah, why are you being so rude? Shouted Sakura. She had been upset since Naruto turned his back on everyone at the Hokage Tower. Naruto was growing annoyed by the two asking him questions. Quote. He just looked at them with blank eyes. Dobi, answer her question. Sasuke was frustrated by the lack of emotions in the blonde. There would have been a time in which Naruto would yell at him or smile a bright smile, but now it was all gone. Now he looks at them with nothing in his eyes, with no more smiles. I do not have any answers for those who are unworthy. He called me and my Sasuke-kun unworthy? We must grind him to the ground. Inner Sakura was not pleased by the blonde's answers. What do you mean by unworthy? It means only those who harbor no delusions of who I really am can have all answers. The blonde once again closed his eyes to the scene before him. Kakashi was clearly upset. Sakura was gritting her teeth and Sasuke was about to explode. I can sense you and the others nearby, Q-kun. Don't worry, these three will explode in a second. Ah, and here I was planning on shaving pink-haired one's hair. Do that tonight. I bet she screams so loudly it could be heard in sound. Kyuubi had to cut off contact there because he was laughing too hard. You bastard, how dare you say we don't know you? Sakura was beyond pissed. The blonde had the nerve to say they didn't know him. I agree with her for once. Stop being a doby. Everyone knows you only left because you were too weak. And here I thought it was you who was too weak. After all, I wasn't the one who joined with the snake. Now both Sasuke and Sakura were angry. The younger male had insulted them both. Letting the anger control them, they rushed the seemingly defenseless blonde. Sakura went for a chakra-filled punch, while Sasuke was going in for a sweep. Right before the connection of both attacks, the blonde seemed to have faded away with the last of sun's rays before night fell. The three remaining shinobi were shocked. It was like trying to hit a ghost. You coward, come out right now, screamed Sakura. She was angry. All that training she did with Tsunade and still she wasn't on the same level as Sasuke or Naruto. Suddenly a growl was heard. It had come out of the darkness of the early night. Two gleaming eyes peered at the rest of former Cell 7. Kakashi was wary of the eyes. They were the eyes of a predator who found its prey. Sasuke, Sakura, be careful. Something is lurking in the shadows. You are right, Hitaki-san. I sense your fear. I sense your weaknesses. A predator always knows when prey is near. From the shadows a large cat emerged. It was the same big cat that Naruto gained his name from. A panther was large, relied on stealth to hunt, and it was famous for being a sort of demon of the night. The only difference was the size and the color of the panther's eyes. It was as large as a lion and had blue eyes. Master, these mortals smell of weakness. How should I proceed? The panther was eyeing the shinobi in front of it. Proceed? It's going to eat us, yelled inner Sakura. The three shinobi backed up a step. Sakura, Sasuke, and Kakashi decided to do their own summoning to even the grounds, for they did not know what the panther could do. Soon a dog, a slug, and a snake appeared. Brat, why am I here? The snake was not happy to be called forth. That was until he saw the panther nearby. The fear was great in the giant snake's eyes. He knew that panther and only one person had the contract to them now. Sakura-chan, what is going on? The slug didn't sense any real danger and was confused on why she was there. Like the snake, she grew fearful when her eyes saw the panther. Kakashi, I'm tired. Why did you call me? We have a small problem. The dog looked towards the area Kakashi was eyeing and saw the big cat. The dog was soon tucking its tail between his legs and shook with fear. Kakashi-sensei, what is wrong? Our summons are afraid. Sakura was confused. Normally each would be ready to attack, but at the sight of the cat the animals were afraid. We dare not attack the Lord of Summons. He could destroy us 1,000 times over and never even use 1/8 of his power. He can only come forth for the heir of nature. The one who knows all and sees all. He is our king and master, even above those who have a contract with us. The three shinobi were stunned. The panther was their lord? That meant they were at a disadvantage. Now, how would you like to finish this? With ninjutsu, genjutsu, or taijutsu? I would say kenjutsu, but none of you use swords. Naruto had reappeared behind the stunned shinobi. The Panther King was making sure that the other animals stayed away from his master. There was no worries, for the others know who Naruto was and would never dream of attacking the one human who could forever destroy their line. The decision was made when all three began making their seals. Sasuke started a Kaiden Jutsu, Kakashi had his famous Chidori in the making, and Sakura was putting chakra in her hands to punch the blonde. Each attack would normally kill a person, shinobi or not. Yet, Naruto is not a normal person. No, he was much more now. A small smile appeared on the blonde's face. Kyuubi, who was nearby in the woods, saw the smile and told the rest of the watching group to cover their ears. It was about to begin. The one thing that not even Kyuubi could stop once it started. The wind swirled around the awaiting blonde. It was beginning a song. Naruto was glowing with a burst of light, and soon a voice like an angel was heard. Dancing memories of my world. Let you be my guide. When the light seems dim. Remind me once more, why I fight. Remind me once more, why I stand tall. Please don't leave, not like so many before. As the sword of hate. Thrust through my heart. Remind me once more, that I am strong. Remind me once more, that I am good. As the world grows old. Memories of times long ago. Come forth again, and remind me once more, that I will not fall into the darkness of my own hell. At the end of the song, the three shinobi were in a trance. Nothing seemed to exist on the outer planes of their minds. Naruto walked up to them and told them to go home and sleep. To forget that they were here and had talked to him at all. Kit, you can be very cruel sometimes. Kyuubi and the rest of the blonde's family had appeared once the others were gone. The song was called Remembrance. It put the listener under a heavy trance-like state. Kyuubi liked to call it Naruto's siren song, for he was like a siren calling the sailors to come ashore. Cruel? Hi, I'm cruel, but it keeps them from disturbing me for any longer. Master, I will leave you now. The other summons are gone and I know you have work to do tomorrow. Thank you, Lord Hyo. I hope you had a good time out. Ah, it is fun to scare the cubs a bit every once in a while. With a feral grin, the Lord of Summons left the rest to do as they pleased. Hinata and Shino were confused about the exchange they had heard. First off, who was heir to nature? Second, what did that mean? Also, there was confusion about the song. Since they couldn't hear it, the two did not know about its effect on people. Naruto looked at the two and decided to explain what happened. Let's go home and tell another story tonight. I'm sure after training with Hawk all day, you two must be tired. He is a hard taskmaster after all. I do know what you're talking about. Such a young fledgling and still can't listen to his elders, said Hawk with a cheeky grin. The rest laughed, except for Itachi and Gaara, but the others could see the happiness shining in their eyes. The family trudged towards their home. It was a home because it warmed the hearts and freed the mind from responsibilities. For the two heirs, their family knew that they spent time with the blonde and didn't care. Shino's father liked the good influence Naruto had on so many people, especially of the younger generation. Hiyashi was proud how strong his eldest daughter had become and knew it was because of Naruto. Let me begin, said Naruto once everyone had settled in the family room. A large fire was roaring in the fireplace since it was close to winter time. The two-leaf shinobi looked on with rapt attention. The song I sang is called Remembrance. It holds an aura of power. Those who are weaker than I will be sucked into my own power and have to do what I say. So, it is hypnosis. Only yours works on about everyone? Shino always knew Naruto was going to be stronger than all of them one day, but this power exceeded expectations. That is right, Shino-kun. It is rare for someone to not be affected. Q-kun can be halfway under and it would take more power to get Aries that far. But most people are easily influenced. Anyo, Naruto-kun, what is nature's heir? Kyuubi decided to answer the question. Nature's heir is someone chosen by all of nature. They had to pass many trials prove themselves worthy of being, well, basically the child of the earth. Then what type of trials did Naruto go through? I had to live a life of pure hatred and to never become like the ones who hated me. I had to help a friend when help was not wanted. I had to protect those who did not want me. I had to bring people from their darkness and not fall into my own. And I had to love a demon when no other would. These are the trials I lived without knowing I was going through them. Everyone was quiet. It was true, his life was pure hell and too many who have had similar lives either went insane or died. Gaara and Itachi were perfect examples of those who were pushed into lives that were not fit for anyone. How did Naruto survive it all? How? Hinata could not finish asking her question. Before the blonde responded, he turned his head sharply towards the door. Two people were approaching his home, his sanctuary. It was Neji and Shikamaru. They both decided that it was time that they got to know the blonde better. After all, he helped them repeatedly. Both were in awe of how beautiful the house and land was. It was like out of a girly fairy tale. I hope you two aren't here to start a fight, said a voice from a tree nearby. Turning, the two young men saw Naruto sitting in a tree looking at them. His arms seemed relaxed, but they were positioned at an angle so that they were close to his sword. One never knows when they have to face down an army of people. We want to talk, to know you better. Neji was the spokesman for the two. It was true, they wanted to be closer to him, like Shino and Hinata are. Good, then come meet my family. The three walked inside to start down a path that was very familiar to the blonde. The three men entered the home to a silent group. It was going to be decided if the newest additions were friend or foe. If Naruto deemed them friend, then there would be no problems coming from the family. If deemed foe, there would be some memory changes. What have you judged them? Are they friend or foe? Asked Hawk. The Celt was worried that the younger members were asked to do so much. In the eyes of many people they were still children, no matter how much they have experienced. Naruto had a silent conversation with Itachi, Gaara, and Kyuubi. No words were needed. Each nodded their heads and looked at Neji and Shikamaru. The two Konoha shinobi held their breaths as they watched the four powerful men approached and surrounded them. You have been weighed, said Itachi. You have been measured, said Gaara. And we find you, began Kyuubi. Worthy of learning who and what we are, finished Naruto. There was a small rush of relief as the newest members of the group were brought into the living room. Everyone seated themselves as Naruto and Kyuubi told their story once more. Neji and Shikamaru were surprised on how strong each person was and why it was Hinata and Shino that were allowed to be part of the group since the discovery of who Naruto was. They felt ashamed of their actions towards the blonde before his departure of Konoha and were glad to once again be a part of the sunshine. Now there was another reason why I'm back in Konoha. A darkness greater than a Biju is coming. It knows no feeling of joy or life. It will drain everything of their spiritual energy and life energy. It is colder than the northern mountains and hotter than the sun. I want to help as many people as I can on stopping it. Innocents will be hurt if we don't do this. Naruto's face was set into his most serious of faces. All of them could see that this was an important matter and things must be prepared. Anyo, Naruto-kun, how do you know about this? Asked Hinata. Since I'm nature's heir, I can sense things. I am in tune with nature and she is crying out against this darkness. It was not born of this world, but rather from a world where power is key and life must be destroyed. Do you hurt too because of this darkness? Asked Shino. Hi, it is like being stabbed over and over with a blood kunai. My soul is being torn to pieces by this darkness. Determination was what everyone felt. They wanted to help their friend and would do anything to make sure that the blonde was saved. He was the link to them all and was one of the purest people to walk this realm. Not matter how much the villagers in Konoha hated him, he still kept going and helped those in need. Very few ever looked beyond the shadow Kyuubi had left over Naruto's life. To many he will always be the demon that destroyed their village so many years ago. Kyuubi felt as though he could never repay the person he has come to view as his most precious being. There is a way to beat it, but for now I just want to be with you guys. So, let's leave the topic and get ready for dinner. Tsunade Kasen and Jiraiya Tucson will be over also, so we can use the larger dining room to eat. The family had a good time eating dinner. It was full of laughter and stories. Naruto was told about how Neji was beaten up for using his eyes to spy in women's bath during a mission. Their target was a female missing nin and was in there at the time. The only problem was a young woman on her way to the baths saw him and screamed. It caused the rest of the women to rush out and beat the Hyuga to the dirt, like Jiraiya when he is beaten by Tsunade. Naruto left his family to their own devices because he had a mission to prepare for tomorrow. It was to be only him, with no backup. The council, with a small exception, were bastards. To hate someone to the extent of how they hated Naruto was truly beyond the scope of human understanding. Kit, don't worry. The council will soon be replaced by a new generation. Maybe this time around things will change. We can only hope. Hi, we can only hope, whispered Naruto. Kyuubi came and hugged the blonde from behind. He too worried, but it wasn't something that the younger would fail at. Orochimaru was no match for him anymore. The snake would fall from power. Q-kun, you know I love you, right? What brought this on Kit? Just in case. You know that Orochimaru can be very cunning. I wanted you to know how much you mean to me. You were the first one to be with me and I know you'll never leave me. If something happens to me I want you to help push the darkness back. I have already started up the new contract for the next heir to nature. Promise me you'll do this. Naruto had such a serious face that Kyuubi knew that the blonde was not joking. You are my precious person, Naruto. I'll do everything in my power to stop the darkness until the next heir comes forth. I hope it will not come down to that. The kitsune hugged the younger male from behind. All I can say is, be careful. I don't want to lose you. Later that night Naruto was still awake. The mission was a test. Would the Kyuubi vessel survive or fail? If he failed then he was dead, either by the Orochimaru or the council. If he succeeded he still would be under scrutiny. No matter how hard he fought or worked, Naruto knew that the older generation was set in its ways. The younger one was not any better at times, but there was a small light of hope. People like Hinata and Shino were the ones who would be best to take over as leaders. They had open minds and hearts. Both shinobi knew not to judge based on one's appearance because they too were judged before being met. Naruto-kun, why are you awake? You need to sleep some before the mission. Itachi was an insomniac like Gaara, and did not get much sleep at night. I'm just thinking and remembering. How long has it been since we became family, Tachi-kun? Since you were a young child, almost 16 years. Back then you were so innocent, with eyes that shined onto the world. This place had almost killed you. I wish I could have been there for you. Itachi normally did not express this much outside of himself, but tonight he felt the blonde needed to hear those words. It has been that long. Man, you're old, Tachi-kun, grinned the younger male. He jumped swiftly away from the shuriken that was thrown where he once stood. Naruto laughed quietly. Very few people could make Uchiha Itachi react. The young male moved down the hall and towards his room. He really did need the sleep. Morning. Be careful, Gaki. I can't have you dead. It's so hard training another student, Jiraiya dramatically sighed. He yelped when Tsunade hit him on his head. No one appreciates my humor, he cried. We do love you, Gaki. Come home to us, that is all I ask of you. The blonde male looked at the Hokage and smiled a gentle smile. It was one that none of the rookie 9, bar Hinata and Shino, have ever seen on the whiskered face. It was as though the young male was at peace. I promise you, Ka-san and Tu-san, that I'll come home to you all. I can't leave my family behind. Naruto hugged Tsunade and Jiraiya before turning to the rest of his family. Godspeed to you, lad, said Hawk. The berserker had trained the blonde a few days ago in the art of swords. Be it a broadsword, like the one on his own back, or a katana, Hawk wanted the younger male to master them all. Mio Piccolo, be safe. And don't be reckless. Faye kissed the blonde on his cheeks and let Ares have his say. Remember, brother, that we are all behind you. No matter what happens, we believe in you. They clasped their hands together at the elbows in a warrior handshake. Gaara walked up to Naruto and looked him in the eyes. With a nod to each other that only the two could understand, the redhead stepped back. It was a nod of acknowledgement and caring. Gaara was not one for words, but Naruto always could understand him. Well, aren't you going to give me a hug, Tachi-kun? Laughed Naruto. The raven gave Naruto a glare, but it was in a dramatic way. The older Uchiha knew that the blonde understood him just as well as he understood Gaara. Don't do anything stupid. Laughing, Naruto turned to the last person in his group. Kyuubi and he were connected on a whole different level. It went beyond being the jailed and jailer. They have seen each other's souls, their hearts, and their minds. Many would think that it would be the same for all of the vessels, but it couldn't be. Kyuubi and Naruto found a balance and a special relationship. Remember, kid, I can get to you no matter what. Just come home to us. I will come home. Now you be good and no pranking, Itachi and Hawk. Last time it took a week for them to calm down and not kill you. The family laughed at that last comment. Kyuubi somehow got both men covered in blue paint from head to toe. It ended with the kitsune hiding in Naruto's room under the bed. I'll be good. Can't guarantee if the rest of the village is safe though, said Kyuubi with a sadistic smile. Chuckling, Naruto looked at them all. Hinata, Shino, Neji, and Shikamaru were already sent on another mission earlier that morning. They had said their goodbyes and made him also promise them to return home. The group was quite angry with the council and promised to someday change it for the better. For now they would continue to do their duty and protect the village. With one last glance at them all, the blonde disappeared into the trees. He was leaping towards danger and possible his death, but this was an important mission. Despite what the council thought, he would go and take out Orochimaru. His precious people would not be threatened by that snake anymore. I call upon Mother Earth to let me see the unseen. Show me please what is hidden. He closed his eyes and opened them back up. Instead of the dazzling blue that was the norm, they had become a deep forest green. The eyes were showing the blonde what was ahead of him and what to expect from the monster he was leaping towards. While strategically placed against other nations, Otto was not the place for those who could use Earth. Within the darkness of the village laid creatures that were not part of this world. Many were so horrid to look at. The demons, while weaker than the Biju, made up their power from sheer numbers. Thousands upon thousands were in the village. So, he was the one who summoned the darkness. Baka thinks he can truly control the demons of another realm? Naruto snorted at that. Orochimaru truly did not know what he was getting himself into. The demons would turn on the snake and destroy the world, covering it in darkness. Konoha. Back in Konoha, the small family went home or to work. Tsunade headed towards the Hokage tower. Paperwork always seemed to be piling up on her desk the minute she turned away. Shizune would have her head if she didn't get back soon. She took a step but then remembered something. Turning back around, she pinned a glare upon Jiraiya. I do not want to hear any complaints about a pervert in the hot springs today, Yubaka. I have to do my research. Come on, just one peek, begged Jiraiya. The rest of the group left. They wanted to be far away when Tsunade puts the beat down upon Jiraiya's head. Kyuubi, Itachi, Faye, Gaara, Hawk, and Ares went back to the Uzumaki home. Since they had no missions themselves that day, the family decided on training instead. It would be an every man and woman for themselves match. Kyuubi was told he was not allowed to use his demon powers, otherwise he would have won hands down. The village was going on in a peaceful hum when explosions were heard. While the shinobi knew what was going, since they have caused similar explosions before, the villagers were in a slight panic. Were they under attack? Sasuke-kun, who do you think caused that much destruction? Asked Sakura. She and the rest of the Rookie 9, plus the senseis, were getting ready for their own training that day. It was to be a combined workout for them. It was also good since 4 of their members were away. Probably the Dobi's so-called family. Wow, the power of their youth must be great, shouted Lee. This proclamation caused his favorite sensei to loudly agree with them. Everyone tuned them out after years of practice. Can we check it out? Asked Ino. She was very curious about Naruto's family. While to the others they were interloping into their territory, she felt that it was fitting. They never truly accepted the blonde male and should not have been surprised when he came back with people who truly loved him. With a shrug, the senseis agreed to it. No one wanted to actually say that they really wanted to see the people who replaced them more closely. No one wanted to admit they were jealous of how close the new people were to the blonde. Naruto was also still a mystery. How did he become so powerful? What attracted these people to him? It was confusing and in many ways painful. There was one problem that didn't come to mind to the group until they were almost in the middle of the village. Where was Naruto's home? When Sakura voiced this, the rest looked hopelessly at each other. You want to know where Naruto-kun lives? Asked a gentle voice. Turning around they saw Hinata, Neji, Shikamaru, and Shino. They had just gotten back from their mission. It was a small one about retrieving a scroll from a house that was on the outskirts of the vast forest. Hi, do you know where it is? Asked Kurenai. Ah, we do, Kurenai-sensei. We in fact stay there quite often, explained Shino. The bug wielder took in the jealous glare he received from a few. How do they know where the Dobi lives? Why can't I be a part of this family of his? Hey, that's not fair, shouted Kiba. He gave his teammates an angry glare. They were supposed to be comrades, and yet they chose the blonde over him. He was not a happy beast fighter. Kiba calmed down when Akamaru barked up at him. The once puppy, now giant dog, was not happy with his master. Come and follow, ordered Neji. Troublesome, sighed Shikamaru. The group followed the newest member of the family to the home of one Uzumaki Naruto.